What do you want to say? Anything just to?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for coming, guys. I'm super happy to be here. I hope it's going to be a valuable morning of insights.
Awesome, awesome. Next up is Tatenda Terence Camara. Man, why did they throw in these middle names? You know, it's like revealing a superhero secret identity. You know, it just humanized you a little bit too much. The middle name. Tatenda Camara, professionally known as Mr. Camara. Make some noise. Yeah, you better recognize. Is a dynamic music producer, songwriter, and audio engineer known for crafting chart-topping hits across various genres. With a keen ear for sound and innovation, he has collaborated with top artists including Ciara, make some noise, Chris Brown, you catch on quick, I like that, Pataran King, Ice Prince, and more, producing and co-writing acclaimed tracks that have dominated the airwaves. His expertise spans music production, sound design, and mixing, ensuring high-quality output that resonates with diverse audiences. Passionate about shaping the future of African music, T. Camara continues to push creative boundaries while mentoring emerging talent. His dedication to excellence and industry impact solidifies his reputation as a leading force in music production. Give it up. Let's go. You want to say something to the people? I mean, you got all those. Woo! That's what's up. And then, of course, I'm going to switch it up, change the plot a little bit. I've got Blue. Blue, you got a mic? Yeah. Now you have to make sure.
Hello, yeah.
Oh, that's all I wanted.
All right.
Oh, yeah, you felt that too, didn't you? She felt it. Come on, talk to me.
Okay. Nah, I'm just really tired.
Okay, so Blue's come a long way. He's part of the Represent team, and because he's come such a long way, and he and I have got such a history talking over Zoom for the past couple of years. I want him to take the time to just introduce himself, and then just diverse, just
Okay.
put a spin on it.
Yeah, that can work. Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Blue Canarillo from London. I'm a music producer, DJ, and yeah, I run Represent Radio. But the main thing probably that I'll be able to help you with or speak with you guys is how just beginning as a DJ and how Represent Radio like helped me get to traveling the world as an international DJ. And it's through community and people, and I don't really like the word networking. It's just about creating communities, you know, and friendships. Also, networking sounds like really stay a little bit stiff, you know.
I feel you.
You know, so I have a long, long past, and I'm not gonna bore you with my story, but I kind of started from just being a DJ who couldn't speak to now traveling the world. So anything I can do to help.
Awesome. Awesome. Yo, Blue. So I know you've been to a lot of formal events, and by now you caught on. This morning's gonna be a little different.
Okay.
You know what I mean? There's a lady over here, and she didn't quite hear your middle name, so she wants you to say it again just a little slowly.
You want my full name? Are we doing governance again?
No, no, just that middle name.
Blue Canarinho.
Oh, there you go. Oh, she said thank you. She said gracias. Let's give them all a round of applause. I don't know how you guys are into. Are y'all ready to be informed and have some fun at the same time? Oh, I didn't quite hear that. You know, I love my Music Connects Africa cohort. They get the idea. They're making all the noise right now. Are y'all about to get into this? That's a lot better. That's a lot better. Let's give them a round of applause one more time. We're gonna get straight into it. Yeah. My first question, which is also open to others. So, Mr. Camera Blue, if you feel like you got a little insight, you can chime in. Goes to Wendy. So, Ditto offers a range of services to independent artists.
to artist and from territory to territory. The one thing that all our label services artists benefit from is pitching to stores, obviously. So what we do is we'll get them to provide more information than what an artist normally provides when they're just uploading and distributing online for themselves. And that's the information that we use to speak to Spotify and Apple, and I mean, there are hundreds of other stores. So just speaking and highlighting what an artist's previous achievements are, or basically what we're telling Spotify and Apple is why they should care, why they should playlist this music. And that's the thing that all artists benefit from.
Yeah.
As far as marketing goes, you know, just like music, all artists and their teams differ. So they have different strengths and weaknesses. And the thing that we try to do is, you know, look at a team and see what their strengths and weaknesses are.
Yeah.
If they currently have a very strong touring schedule, but maybe they're lacking on the marketing and the rollout part or the career development part, that's where we assist them. Personally, in Africa, my strength is from the marketing side. So I'll often jump in with teams. You know, my colleagues are all over the world. We've got offices in Australia and the UK and France and the US and many others. So we're all specialists in some or other field. My field is marketing, but I mean, I've got colleagues who came from Live Nation or TuneCore or, you know, all over the place.
Wow.
So wherever help is needed, really. And then, of course, all artists need funding at some point in their career. Sometimes we'll sign an act that is just absolutely blowing up, and because royalties are about 3 months delayed on average, sometimes they're exploding so quickly and there's a major opportunity that they need money for and they don't have the money. So Ditto can provide them that money, because, you know, we can see in the pipeline like that money's coming through but they don't have it yet. So, you know, like that's really what label services is kicking in and assisting the artist to grow their career wherever it's blowing up, whatever they need help with. Because we can see that something is happening in the market, but they need that assistance. At the same time, they still own their masters, though.
That's really interesting, Wendy. I was reading your profile, and there was a specific distinction between how you support artists and independent labels. And here in Africa, you know, our independent labels are typically your bedroom producer with his team of friends. Our version of Billy and her brother, you know how we do. And I wanted to figure out, or hear from you, if you could comment on, is that something marketable? Because the mentality that most of them have is that, hey, we're too small, so we can't approach the likes of Wendy. You know, what's your viewpoint, and what do you do specifically for the independent labels specifically? Yeah.
So look, I mean, you know, the only thing that I have a finite amount of is time. When I'm at conferences like these, I'm open to everybody. Everybody, please come and speak to me, ask me your questions. I'm happy to help. On the label services side, you know, it needs to make financial sense for a label to sign to label services. Otherwise, we just end up costing them money. That's not the right way forward. But there's so much that they can do for themselves. And for independent labels, even if you're small, you know, the world is open to you. Social media, it's, you know, you've got access to everybody out there. I think the thing that independent labels can probably do better is collaborate, and then on the admin side, you know, you don't want to have all of your singles dropping at the same time, because you're splitting your audience's attention. So then just to space things out properly and then all work together to shine a light on that artist's release or that producer's new track, or, you know, like, so that you're constantly taking the fan base that you have and directing their attention in one way and then the other and then the other, and making sure that, you know, everybody in the team, in the label, is benefiting, and that'll be how you grow your audience overall.
Awesome. I think a great segue would be into someone who started out in that kind of environment that I just described, and that would be Mr. Camera. And my question to you is, you've worked with some of the biggest names in music across genres. Do you mind sharing a bit about your journey as a Zimbabwean producer, starting out right here, and how you got to working with the likes of Chris? Can I just call him Chris? You know?
Kiri.
Yeah. Or Bay. How Bay doing though? You know, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I always say it in like a lot of my interviews, right? That if we looked at Africa as, instead of looking at it as a continent, we look at it as a country, right? So let's compare Africa to America, where the different states would be the different countries, right? And we look at America and we know, if you want to be an actor, you have to go to Hollywood, right? If you really want to blow up as an actor, you have to go to Hollywood. If you're in tech, for example, you have to go to Silicon Valley, right? Like if you are a musician, you've got capitals for specific things.
Yeah.
So if we look at where I looked at Africa and I was like, look, what are the music capitals of Africa? We're looking at Nigeria, we're looking at South Africa. For East Africa, we're looking at maybe Tanzania, Kenya, right? Even when it comes to music labels, where are their offices? They're in South Africa and they're in Nigeria, right? So if you want to blow I looked at myself like, okay, if I'm going to be a producer and I want to blow as a producer, where do I need to be? I need to be in South Africa. Well, that's closest, right? So for me, it was looking at those dynamics and just thinking, where is the music happening? Even with the scoring stuff for series and movies, the film industries are big in Nigeria. You got Nollywood, and then you've got South Africa as well. So it's kind of a giveaway, like, you have to be in those spaces. It's very difficult to be sending music and trying people where you're not there, you know. So that was the first step to
Awesome.
yeah,
But
to reach there.
I think that's pretty intriguing. So I'm sure everyone's assumption here is you raised money to literally, physically travel to these places, and you made that sacrifice.
No. I finished high school and I was like, I want to go to college in South Africa. So it was also like my parents that were like, we'll take you, you can go to South Africa for college, right? I've always wanted to do music and been passionate about music, but it was also like, we support you in your music, but you still gotta go to school, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool, so take me to school then. And then I went to South Africa. But then when I got to South Africa, that's when I continued like pushing for the music.
Next thing you knew, you were chilling with Chris. Can I call him
It
Chris?
wasn't that simple.
And we're gonna get into that. And I like how you said it wasn't that simple.
Yeah.
And I like how you talked about traveling, because my next question is for Blue. Being of Spanish heritage but born and raised in the UK, how have you managed to unlock international opportunities to tour?
Yeah, it's a difficult question. Only, I guess the Spanish heritage thing helped only in the way that in London we kind of were super multicultural, and so when you're from a different place, most kind of people are also, and we have a good understanding of each other, and we try and help each other, and we speak about where each other are from, and we learn about each other's cultures and the languages, and it's kind of like that in London a little bit. So with that, we band together. It's like everyone comes together. It's a big community thing. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say, is that it's about the community. The only reason I got international bookings is because we had a strong community together, and people thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
So then we traveled together. Like we travel like as a crew and as a record label, which is now actually signed to Ditto, Wendy's label, which has helped. So speak to Wendy, because now I get even more international bookings because I'm signed to Ditto. It also helps, so speak to Wendy. But before I got signed to for a distribution deal to there, it was mostly just about looking around the world, looking at each people's underground scenes and celebrating them. So I don't really play music that is like famous or well known. I prefer to play like underground music.
Yeah.
So say a Zim artist sends me a load of music, I'm going to play it. And then I'm kind of then known in Zim because people go, oh, you got to send your music to Blue. I did it everywhere around the world. So I'll speak to people in Brazil, I play their music, and then when I decided to go to Brazil, I could get a load of bookings, no problem, because I had such a big network there, because I'd been playing their music in London.
Wow.
So I used my way of DJing. Instead of wasting a track by playing like a Drake song, I would play.
Oh no, don't play one of those. No.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't play a Drake, but I'd rather play like a Natty O.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
For sure. Yeah, But doing them things, you create connections and like genuine bonds with people around the world. It doesn't matter where they are. Celebrating underground scenes has kind of opened up more doors. So now my network spans across the world. I can go anywhere and probably get a booking because I just got a message to the person. And they do the same. When they visit me on the other side, I'll help them get bookings in London, bring them to the radio station, do everything I can.
Yeah.
That's it. I keep saying it, but it's just like, it's all about the community. Growing your community, whether it's online, in person, doing what you can do, celebrating underground art, fashion, be involved in your scene because you're only as strong as like your network is.
That's incredible. I'm gonna ask you one more question while we're still on that topic. This one comes from one of my good friends from Terminal One. This can only be Charlene who crafted this one. It's a brilliant one. You champion underrepresented sounds, making them reach wider audiences. How would you advise Zimbabwean artists making niche sounds to reach an international audience?
No? Yeah, there we go. Okay. So I specialize in niche sounds, in like more, what I would like to say, authentic to location like sounds. It's what I'm interested in. There's a massive scene for it. For Zim artists, I would say continue being yourself. I think it's the only way that like the Zim scene is going to grow. Is the only scene that I've ever grown is by being unapologetically themselves. It's the same with London. Like London used to like copy American hip hop, and it just didn't work. Like they didn't care for us. They were like, "What is this whack nonsense?" Do you know what I mean? Like everyone was rapping in American accents. It was quite embarrassing, to be honest. Because we sound so different. We're speaking the same language, but we sound so different.
Yeah.
And I think it's only when we started rapping in our own languages and making our own music, using our mixed heritage, like, using the Caribbean sounds. It was thank God to the Caribbean people that came to the UK, because they saved us. But like, mixing like the UK sound, rapping in London accents, singing in London accents, and then we kind of grew garage, grime, jungle, all of these sounds that are like really big. That's the only way that it happened. I think it's the same around the world. When Brazil, they've always been unapologetically Brazilian, but with like Nigeria, when like they stopped kind of sounding American and they started being like really Nigerian, that's when it caught on. It's same with SA. Your local neighbor. As soon as they started like being really South African and like unapologetically, it blew. So I would say it's the same thing for Zim. Like you have such a unique culture here. To try and beat anything else would be sad, It's never gonna like fully take off until you start like being unapologetically yourself. It's kind of hard, but it's a long journey. It's hard. It's not easy. So I get it, but
awesome. And I guess the moral of that one is don't play Drake.
Yeah, pretty much. I went the long route, but stop playing Drake.
No, that was really clear. And in the spirit of moving in the same kind of topic. The next question is from Mr. Camera, but it's not too unrelated, so it's excellent how you took it there, Blue. As a passionate advocate for African music, how do you see African sounds influencing global music trends, and how do you incorporate these influences into your productions?
I think right now Africa is at the top when it comes to music globally, right? And like what Blue was saying, when you look at genres like Amapiano, for example, literally the whole world is just going crazy about Amapiano. So how I incorporate Africa into my music, I put African elements into my music. So, for example, when I'm scoring stuff, right, for films or whatever, or series. So there's let me give you another example. There's an animation I'm working on. It's called Azania Rises, right? So it's like basically it's like Wakanda vibes. It's like Africa's superheroes, right? And the brief for that was to make the music African, right? And I looked at scoring and I thought like when people are scoring, it's always orchestral. It's always like, and orchestras are Western instruments to us, right? So I looked at how we can create orchestral sounding music, but using African instruments, right? And I feel like that is what then makes the difference. So even when it comes to making like R&B music, you can still make R&B music, but incorporate African instruments into it, and that is what then brings the difference, right? So someone might be like, oh, but this doesn't quite sound like R&B, but it shouldn't because it's African R&B, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I would look at incorporating Africa into modern music in a way.
That's epic. Thanks. So Wendy, you got some free marketing earlier on from Blue. You just didn't hold back.
I did.
What he was trying to say is, get us more money, lady. I'm kidding. I think we've heard so much about the creativity and the diversity of the music, and it's important to bring it back to the financial side, which is an area that you really specialize in through your marketing. So I wanted to ask, in your opinion, what are the most crucial steps that need to be taken economically to grow the African creative sector, particularly in terms of sustainability and access to global platforms? And when she's done, you guys are free to chime in if you got any opinions or comments, just so we can open it up a little bit.
So there are a couple of things. I think if we're talking about the sustainability of the financial side, the first thing that you have to do as an artist or a label or a collective is realize that you're a small business owner. So you need to actually track your progress. You need to look at how much money you're putting into something and when you've made something that contains intellectual property. We've had so many talks about the rights and the IP contained in your creative works. What did it cost you to make that product? And then what income is coming in from that? What worked? What brought in more money? Did you do a series of posts on social media that led to streams on Spotify or Apple? Did a specific performance drive people to stream your music more or lead to another booking? So it can be hard to track, but I think, just thinking about it from that perspective of this is how much you put in, this is how much came back, then you can really start analyzing what works, where your paid audience is, because hey man, people always love your music, but are they buying it? Are they buying your merch? So I think to just start seeing where the money comes from is a great first step. And then making sure that everything is registered, so that all of the money that is due to you is actually arriving at your doorstep. So taking care of that aspect is also super important. And then from there on, I think that you're in a good space to understand, okay, cool. You've got money coming in here and here and here, and you might get a sense of where you can do better, where your fans are located, and what might work. And once you've got that, you can replicate it. You can do it bigger, more, throw perhaps some more money at marketing something that already works. And you know that money is better spent.
Awesome. Maybe from a producer's perspective, what are your thoughts, T-Camera?
I actually don't have much to say on that. I'm actually learning from Wendy as well. I feel like, right? Because
what she said, right?
No, like for real, because it's like a lot of times people think we have it figured out, and we don't. We're literally learning as well. I feel like you have to be teachable, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't know everything, and I'm literally like learning as well as Wendy is talking. Yeah.
No, I hear you. Go ahead, Blue.
What was the question again?
Uh,
Sorry, I just got lost in what Wendy was saying.
no, it's all right. I'll ask it to you in a different way. What's given you and your team the best results financially using your approach?
Okay, so what makes me the most money?
Yeah.
All right, I think I get what you're saying. Yeah, it does actually kind of, what these guys said is actually really important. What Kamara said is that although I do make my living full-time from music, I still do not know what I'm doing. I'm like making it up as I go along, to be honest.
Yeah.
But then echoing what Wendy said is, yeah, the thing that I did unknowingly is see what worked. I was just trying anything, just trying different things, trying to figure out what worked. And then when you do find something that works, you try and keep going with that. I realized that for us, touring, even if we didn't get paid that much, because we'd take like 4 of us with us, hardly make any money from it. But the return from that was tenfold. So we didn't make money specifically from that, but it got us more known and more, not famous, but just more known. And then the streams started getting higher, and then the brand deals got better because we were more known.
Yeah.
So just touring alone made us a lot of money.
Yeah.
In a way. Touring does make a lot of money anyway, that's where I would say. If you can, performance makes a lot more money than streams do at this present moment, but they all go hand in hand. So Instagram is like one thing, but in reality, I mean, if you're very good on Instagram, then if that works, then you should keep doing that. If you're just very funny or whatever, that's great. That wasn't what we were going for. Ours was more of like a underground aesthetic, but the main thing that we wanted people to know is that we were super personable, and like we travel the world just being nice to people and playing good music and celebrating people.
Yeah.
And then when people realized that, we just got known for it. That was it. And then we made money off being known as nice people.
Yeah, it's your brand.
It's our brand, exactly.
Yeah.
We realized what our brand was. Doesn't have to be everyone's brand. Some people could be standoffish and really cool, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's just figuring out what it is that makes you you, and then shouting about that, however it is that works for you. YouTube, social media, radio, it could be anything,
Right. Yeah, that leads us to yet another.
Can I add something, right?
Oh,
So back to what Wendy was saying, I feel like there are processes that you follow, right? So with the branding and the registering of your music, there are certain processes that you take, but which I feel like we'll also learn as we go. But then there are certain things I feel that you have to work on yourself as an individual, right? Because for you to get to where Blue is, that's consistency, that's hard work, that's constantly trying to better yourself in something, that's delivering on time, do you know what I mean? So I feel like there's certain things as well that can lead you to making money because you are dependable. Someone knows that if I ask Blue to deliver this thing by Friday, I'll have it on Thursday. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
I don't have to chase up on him. So I just wanted to add that there are things that you can work on yourself. And then there are processes that make up the machine outside of yourself.
That's excellent. Ladies
And
and
then
gentlemen.
I just want to add to that, if you don't mind.
Keep going. Never mind.
Like, both of them said is like so right. It's like,
Yeah.
honestly, like Blue's right, guys. Like, we aren't some big, impressive, amazing people. I mean, we are amazing.
Yeah.
And I love that. And so are you, right? But literally, we're all just winging it. We're all just doing our best and trying to help. And I mean, it's all about community and trying to find the best version of yourself. Honestly, you teach people how to treat you. Like, it's whatever you will stand for. So if you teach people that you're dependable, you're deliverable, you're kind, you play their music from all over the world, like that's, you're teaching them that they can rely on you.
Yeah, I guess what I can take away from that is, much like the industry I come from originally, there's no formula to success. There's no formula, and above all else, don't be a douchebag.
Exactly.
So my name is Eugene Ramirez Mapondera, and I've been speaking to Wendy Becker, T Camera, and Blue. For those of you who've just joined us, we're still having this discussion. We're still going on. I like where we stopped just now. Let's talk a little bit more about talent development. And my next question is for you, Mr. Camera. So you're known for mentoring emerging talent in the industry. What do you look for in young artists or producers, and how do you support their growth in such a competitive environment?
What I look for, so I feel like it all just starts with the music, right? The music has to, I have to hear it and then I have to feel it, right? And be like, okay,
The vibes,
right?
vibes.
It's about the vibes,
Yeah.
but it's also about how serious you are. Like I was saying just now, if I ask to say, I've got this brief from this artist, for example, and I need to send beats by this day, right? And if you say you're gonna send something to me by a specific day and you don't, then you're not serious, and I'm not gonna chase you again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Can we say serious to you translates to professionalism?
Exactly, professionalism, and you're just not serious about yourself, because if that's what I mean by just be dependable. Like,
Yeah.
if your word is all you have, right? So if you tell someone you're gonna do something by a specific time, do that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that shows me that you're serious. And even if it's incomplete, you'd rather send it to me and be like, look, it's incomplete, but this is what I managed to do. And that's how I kind of get to work with people. And now, the second part of your question,
Yeah.
I collaborate a lot, right? So I love to collaborate, and for me, that's how best I get people into certain conversations or rooms, because it's such a relationship-based industry, so it's very difficult for me to say to like a Pato Ranking, for example, and be like, yo, listen, I've got this producer, start working with him. He doesn't trust them, he trusts me. So I have to collaborate with that producer to get him into that room. Only then Pato Ranking can be like, okay, cool, I'm ready to connect with this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how I did the Scripts and Bars thing. I think last year or the year
Yeah,
before, can't
yeah.
remember. But I did it online, and then I connected with the producer DJ called XFX. All right. I asked people to send me music, and I gave them my number on the WhatsApp, because it was like a WhatsApp group call thing with a
Yeah.
bunch of them. And he hit me up, like when the call was done, he took my number and he sent me a message on the side, right? And he's like, yo, can you listen to my beats, whatever. And I'm like, cool. Then he sent me his music. I was like, that's pretty cool, right? And we started working back and forth.
Nice.
And now we've got some music that's gonna come out. And one of the songs actually is a co-production with Murder. So it's things like that where that's how I managed to get him into that kind of situation from collaborating.
Great. Yeah, give it up. What's happening, everybody? How we doing? Yeah. Even with the, broken Pastor Sheik I got going on, we doing okay? You getting all the questions? Yeah. Newcomers, how you feeling? Yeah. Let's give a round of applause for these guys. They're breaking it down, y'all. Yeah. This will be the last question before we open up to the floor, so I'm told. Actually, I won't ask a question. I'm going to ask you guys to give your own personal comments, things you felt like you wanted to come all the way to Zim and share in a minute or less. Anyone want to go first? I'll start. Y'all got to believe in yourselves, okay? Yeah. It's an inside thing. If you know, you know. All right?
Yeah, I guess I spoke for a really long time yesterday. I hope that some of you, I recognize some faces. I'm glad to see you back. I don't expect that you understand or retain everything that I spoke about yesterday, but the main thing I want you to do is just start. Just start anywhere. Try like Blue said, try anything and everything. Because if you're an artist and you've got music and you're not releasing it, then I can guarantee you one thing's gonna happen, like nothing.
Yeah.
So please just start. Just send your music. Don't be scared. You've got one life, and I mean, like we're all everyone's just winging it, So present your best self, put on your best face, and just try. Like follow your heart, lean into what works, and yeah, I mean, reach out. We're on social media. Like the main Ditto account is on social media, but also Ditto Music Africa has its own social media accounts, and I mean, like let's chat.
Awesome. Mr. Camera, do you mind if I give you something to talk about? Just something brief. Do you mind? Okay. You trust me, don't you?
No.
Come on, yeah. Who is this?
Okay, cool, yeah.
Chris said you were cool, man. What's up with that?
Let's go.
Okay. What's your message to DJs and producers with 500 tracks on their SD card or hard drive gathering dust from 2008 in this day and age of sync licensing, pitching your music online and so on? What's your message to them?
So there might be three parts to that. Firstly, like Wendy said, get the music out, right? Get the music out. Secondly, I think believing in yourself.
Oh, man. Come on.
Believe in yourself.
Keep going, don't stop. Yeah.
So I'm a Christian, right? I believe in God, and I feel like you have to really have faith, and you have to really believe that dreams do come true, because I've seen it for myself, right? And all I could do was just do what I can do, which is just sit on my laptop and make music, right? And because I believe in God, I pray to God. That's where that's where everything, He puts everything else in place for me, right? But it has to be believing in yourself and having faith in yourself, right? Send out the music, man. The third part would be creating the community, like what Blue is saying, because when you meet people, exchange contacts and talk about stuff. Like we've got this thing where when we meet each other for the first time, we don't talk about what we do. Like I know a lot of people out there, when you greet each other and you introduce yourselves, you'll be like, oh, so what do you do? And the person will be like, I do this, I do that. But we don't do that generally. And the more we do that, the more you would meet a filmmaker like yourself, and then I'll be like, oh, but I've got 500 songs on my hard drive that could work for your stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's creating that community as well. So believe in yourself,
Yeah.
create that community, and send out the music.
All right.
Very nice.
That's very nice.
Well, he said 3, so, I don't... He kind of said all the good ones, but I was with Bisola yesterday. We went to Star FM, and we were kind of speaking about similar things, about like how it works in London and what it's like in Zim. And I'm gonna steal like her line because she said, "Don't always network up, network across." Like knowing me is okay. Like you can send me a song, I'll play your song. That's one time or you could send it to Mr. Kamara. But we're busy people, as I'm sure you all are as well. I can help you one time, maybe in a couple months, you send me another one, I play it again. That's just me playing a song on the other side of the world. That's not gonna help you that much. It's a good moment, and then you can record it and be like, my song's been played on Represent Radio or in London. That's good. But being around the people like that are on your level and you all growing at the same time, that's so much more powerful. Like, if you're on the same level, or when I say level, I mean like, where you're at in your music career, if you just started or, whatever, just someone that you kind of relate to and you can speak about things, and then you can help each other. You can help each other constantly. I can only help you every now and then. That's so much more powerful. That's how things grow. That's how you all grow powerful together. That's much, much more important. So every now and then, yeah, it's cool. If I'm here and you make that contact, that's great, And the same with anyone that's here. But the people in this room are actually so much more important than the people on this stage right now. For real.
Bars.
Thank you, Basola.
That's excellent. Kami, do we have time for questions? Awesome, awesome, awesome. Let's give them a round of applause. It's been excellent, excellent. For those of you who joined us late or just joining us, I've been speaking to Wendy Becker from Detour Music. I've been speaking to T Camera, who's an international producer, and Blue, who's a DJ from Represent, a touring international DJ, but is a resident DJ at Represent Radio in the UK. I'll be ready to take my first question now. Yep, got one here, got one there.
Thank you so much.
Oh.
Thank you so much. My name is Kim Makumbe. I'm a singer-songwriter. My question is with regards to quality versus quantity. So I know you guys were saying just start, go for it, shoot your shot. I'm one of those people who has struggled with that because my inconsistency with releasing music actually comes from a perspective of let me perfect the product, let me make it market worthy. And we do end up achieving that, but the inconsistency then kind of undoes all the progress. So what is your take on quantity versus quality, and how do we make that balance?
Ooh. I think every single musician in this room will probably feel exactly what you're saying. I think we all have the same thing. I still have it to this day. But you kind of just have to get out your own way a little bit sometimes. Until like you're at Beyonce level, which I'm sure will happen, like where people are like scrutinizing your every note, or like if you missed a little note or skipped a, it was off time for a second, then it's just enjoy creating, releasing, sharing. I'm sure the quality is already there. You just don't, you're just not trusting you because you're like, I can do better, I can always do better. Yeah, the song can always be better. Like it always can. At some point, you just have to release it. Don't let like your career get punished by that, by like having the fear that it's not good enough, because I'm sure it is. And then, you're actually going to get much further by consistently releasing and just being someone that's always dropping things. Someone might like go, that one's not a best one. It's fine, then they're still going to listen to like the next one, unless it's really bad, in which case maybe don't drop it, but I'm sure it's good enough. Just don't be like halted by like thinking it's not good enough, because we never think our tracks are good enough. At some point you just have to accept it is where it is and it's got to come out now. That's it. So, don't let yourself be held back. I'm sure it's good enough.
Yeah, I think also a different take. Well, it's a completely different take. But there's an interview I watched by the songwriter Tyrone Thomas, right? And he was saying, because he's from the Virgin Islands and he moved to the States, and he got an opportunity to write a song for Akon, right? So he spoke about this thing where you write a song, and then you write a good song, and then you write bad songs, and you write a good song, and then you write bad songs. But he's like, for him to beat the market and beat other people, he had to write good songs all the time. So that's what he started learning, that your output, so your quantity must have the highest quality all the time, which is very hard to do as a creative, yes. But he said that's what he had to learn for him to beat the market, basically. So he just started pumping, and the quality. So now you're releasing 100 songs, high quality songs, right? So so maybe that's like an angle. Maybe that's something to fight for, to try to better yourself in the quality. So it's always high quality, if that makes sense. Difficult though, but yeah.
Yeah, wasn't it Dolly Parton that wrote a song every day of her life? And I mean, so if your output is high enough, then you're gonna have some bangers. But yeah, just to add to that, from a different perspective on the creative arts, from like a fine art perspective, I remember our lecturers always used to say to us that you've got to know when to stop working on something, because too much work can also kill the vibe. So it's about knowing yourself, and listening to what you've created and knowing when to step back when it's fine. It might not be perfect, but not perfect might be better. I guess it depends for each and every one of you, but I think that in my personal opinion, we've had some artists that deliver songs and then they're not happy with something and then they deliver another version and then, it sounds different. The one might sound a little bit more live and it's got more feeling in it. So I think interrogate that for yourself, but definitely don't overwork something because then it's just sometimes too polished. I don't know.
That's how we got the Chronic 3 from Dr. Dre. And we'll be waiting for that for another 15 to 20 years. Any other questions?
Yeah, we do have from the guys watching online.
Awesome. Let's hear it.
So someone said, this one's for Mr. Camara specifically. Since you talked about connecting with producers, do you still do it? And if you do, how do producers get in touch with you? Do they send you a DM via Instagram, email? How do they go about that?
Oh yeah, I still do it. I still do it. They can send me an email. They can DM me. My Instagram is at Mr. Camara. My email is mrcamara@gmail.com. So, so yeah, they can just reach out to me. I still collaborate. I'm always collaborating.
Yeah. It's Mr. Camara@gmail.com. Camara. No dot, no underscore. Mr. Cam, none of that. My man. Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Caesar. I'm from Matamba Film Labs for Women. I'm a film and new media content producer. So I'm really excited that we have a panel full of musicians, people who represent music. But I think you spoke to one aspect or what I would call alternative means to have musicians actually output their content, which is scoring for film. So my specific question is to you, Wendy. When you say, as Dito, that you do have support for artists, is this just for musicians only, or you also support alternative, I don't like calling it alternative media, but maybe I would call it other forms of media, or maybe new media, that can also access your services. And also maybe to all of you, that if you can also maybe speak more to other options that musicians have, because sometimes you might not make it, you might not be able to produce a song for Chris, but you can be a songwriter, there's so many more things that I think our musicians need to hear, that it's not all hope lost. Yeah.
So I think your main angle, absolutely, it's a great question. Your number one fighter for your type of music would be your publisher. That is the person that is managing the set of rights that are specifically working with people who use music for sync. But because, in my talk yesterday, I covered the two rights that are in music, so it's the master and the publishing. The publisher will actively be pitching your music pre-release. So you've delivered a bunch of instrumental tracks that are perfect for syncing to music or perfect for syncing to film. So it's not out, the public can't consume it, it's perfect for a movie that's coming up. Where we work is more on the music that you hear on radio, the music that is consumed by people on Spotify. They want to listen to music on Spotify and on Apple Music. So it tends to be, when you're working in the masters, it tends to be more commercial music or artists trying to make commercial music. We do have rights to pitch for sync. Most of the time that tends to be music that is already out that has vocals on it. So yes, there is an avenue. If you wanted to put out a soundtrack to a movie that is coming out, and you have an agreement with, say, the filmmaker or the distributor of the film, and they want it released commercially, they would then be driving listeners to Spotify and Apple to listen to that. I think that we are not your direct path for the best chances of success. I think that a publisher is the best option because before the music is released, they already send it out to tons of people. trying to get you that deal. And if you don't have a publisher and your music is registered, you can also be sending that out to production houses and pitching your music for use in film. Advertising tends to go more with commercial music, so that's why I'm suggesting that route for you. Have I answered your question?
No, then. Like the answer is yeah.
I'll try harder.
I think you also added a bit to do with like other, like being like a full-time musician or whatever, or you know how to, what you can do because you might not make it, or however you want to call it. I think what people forget is that to be an independent musician, you learn so many other skills that aren't just music. It's like one of the only jobs that you do because you love something, but you have to learn how to, well, audio skills is already a start, communication skills, like sales, social media. You do all of it. You're running a business, basically, whether it works or not. You've learned ridiculous amount of skills that are transferable to other things. You just don't realize it. So while I was like coming up, being a producer and radio, and I didn't have, you know, I wasn't like making that much money or whatever, I realized that I knew how to sell myself and I knew how to use social media. So then I was like worked social media for a company and worked in business because I knew how the music business worked. I got into radio because I understood how like I had great audio skills just by being a bedroom producer. Like you can use all these things to fund yourself while you're being, you know, trying to make it or whatever. Just remember that the amount of skills that you have is insane. It's like the biggest list just by being a musician. It's not just music. So use them. Don't just waste it on like just, you know, putting yourself out there. It's like you're doing it, you're figuring out what works, what doesn't, and then make some money on the side from you know, you can sell them skills. That's what I would say, like as you're on the rise. And then you know what, you might get to a point and then be like, I actually prefer this business stuff. I don't even want to be a musician anymore. I've had my time. I enjoyed my time. It's been a great, you know, couple years, you know, putting out music and stuff, but I'm really enjoying this business stuff. You know, you might become a music lawyer. I don't know. Let your path go where it goes. But use your skills, you know, to make yourself some money, you know, so you don't have to put so much pressure on the music all the time. Just enjoy yourself, you know what I mean? That's the main thing, isn't it? Really.
Unfortunately, we are out of time for questions. So we're going to get into a little intermission. Did you guys have fun?
The best time.
Did we live up to what we sold in terms of this talk? That's the remittance.
You're the craziest host, bro.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. And you've been an amazing audience as well. We're not going to let you go without a treat. There's a certain gentleman who's part of what used to be the Scripts and Bars alumni, who is now very much part of the Music Connects Africa family. He's a prolific MC from KwaBulawayo, the one and only Indigo Saint. Give him a round of applause.
Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2. It's incredible for me how the most important people in my life have always been women. So let's start off with Due Protocol. Happy International Women's Day, yeah? Yeah. Cool. Good morning. Yeah, so my name is Indigo Saint. I create safe spaces for a living, so we're about to create a safe space. Safe space away? Safe space away? Cool. The song is called Dear Catherine, and it's about a woman who quite literally created a safe space for me. So let's do that. Hopefully you enjoy it. I'm sure anytime now. So maybe just for context, I know, we're surrounded by we're all creators, right? And we all want things, but sometimes it's so difficult, you know what I mean? But one thing that I learned is that purpose is the most important thing. So even though I'm not seeing the results all the time, at least I know that I'm doing the one thing that I love. You know what I mean? And yeah, and this lady, she's the one who reminded me of my purpose and who reminded me of who I truly am. Yeah. Okay, let's get it. Yeah. So it's kind of a little letter to my dear friend, Catherine. Yo. Dear Catherine, I hope this letter finds you in a happy place. If not, I pray these words I write will help put a smile on your face. My name is Case. Now call number 88. I'm sure you don't remember when I called. It was rather late, you changed my fate. You see, I had a couple problems. It was about a date, the 27th or the 28th. I had a date with my fate. You said I should wait. The devil went fishing on that date. I took the bait. All I needed was as simple as just going home. Probably would have jumped if we hadn't spoken on the phone. You gave me more perspective than the roof that I get stood on. Now every day I breathe, you know it's business getting stood on. Wish I would have known back then. This ain't a thing, it's a matter of time. I wish I would have known back then. This ain't a thing, it get better with time. So I say, Catherine, look, now I ain't reaching for the aspirin. The devil talking, but I know he capping. My life's a shipping, and I'm the captain, bruh. I'm the captain, homie. Yo, Catherine, look, I'm really happy that I called. I know I'll trip, I know sometimes I'll fall. But I'm still alive, I know I have it all, yeah. I have it all, look. And right now, I'm breathing, seeking, healing, growing, learning, teaching, healing, grateful, patient, love, what a feeling. Happy that you led me to the road of finding reason. Cause right now I'm in my purpose and I'm grinding and I'm finding deeper parts of who I am and what I've found in all my findings is life is what you make it. It's hide and seek and I was hiding, but now my eyes are open cause I'm only seeking truth. If I ever have a daughter, I'ma name her after you. She'll be kind and she'll listen if she's half the things you do. And when I'm lost and I'm tired, she'll lead me back to you. Cause it wouldn't be of me if there never was a you. I wish I would've known back then. This ain't a thing, it get better with time. You feel me? I wish I would've known back then. This ain't a thing, it get better with time. So I say, Catherine, look, now I ain't reaching for the aspirin. The devil talking, but I know he capping. My life's a shipping, and I'm the captain, bruh. I'm the captain, bruh. Yo, look, Catherine, look, I'm really happy that I called. I know I'll trip, I know sometimes I'll fall. But I'm still alive, I know I have it all, yeah. I have it all, yeah. Safe space, away. Away. Thank you so much, you guys have a great day.
Was that nice? Yeah. Amazing, amazing.
Oh, let's give him another round of applause. Just give me a second to get back into my awkward pastor chic. Nah, two's bad enough. It's awkward as heck. We're gonna move into our next discussion, is that right? Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I'm gonna invite to the stage Kush, Ayati, Mr. Nyani. And the rest of the participants of this amazing talk. Let's give them a round of applause. It's one of those. And of course, Bisola. Oh, don't stop clapping. Stop when I tell you to. I'm kidding. Let's give it up. Let's give it up. Super creative. Super, super creative. How you guys feeling? How you guys feeling? You caught the tail. Well, Bisola, I know you caught all of the last one, so you know what you're up against.
Yeah, we know you.
Yeah. You're in safe space, away. Y'all know what time it is. We're trying to have fun here, trying to learn new things. You all down for that? Yeah. Oh, I didn't catch that. Yeah? Are you guys tired? Yeah? Okay, great. How you feeling, everybody? How you feeling, Ayati? They want to hear your voice.
Happy.
Yeah, yeah. Mr. Nyani, come on, raise them up, raise them up, raise them up.
Happy Women's Day, ladies.
Let's go. Let's Kush, how you feeling?
I'm good. Excited.
Yeah?
Glad to be here.
You
Thank
ready,
you.
right? You got prepped just a little bit, so you're cheating technically.
No.
How you doing? Oh, this is so exciting. I'm going to start out with some introductions. Yeah? Napoleon Nyani, just a super swagalicious gentleman right there, is an influential leader and innovator, currently serving as the CEO of the National Arts Council of Zimbabwe. Yes, that's a CEO. Under his, yeah, come on, give it up now. CEO with Riz. What you know about that? What you know about that? Under his stewardship, the council has experienced revitalized growth, fostering an environment where the arts and creative industries thrive as pivotal contributors to the national development. With his visionary approach, Napoleon is shaping the cultural landscape of Zimbabwe, empowering artists and promoting the country's rich heritage on a global scale. Give it up. We have Ayati, the very shy Ayati. So serene, so serene. Ayati is a veteran radio broadcaster, boasting an impressive 15-year tenure. Give it up. In the industry, her extensive experience includes a stint as programming manager at Star FM, where she was in charge of on-air content, concepts creation, music rotation, and coordinated events. Additionally, she's played a pivotal role in identifying, coaching, and mentoring present-day talent. Ayati holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Communication Science. Give it up. Okay, and then we have the lovely Fungai. Kush Zirawa is the CEO of Zimbabwe Music Awards, as well as the founder of the award-winning agencies Kaya DeFero and Rogue and Associates. Give it up. we got another CEO, and we hit you with that diverse action. You didn't see it coming. Yeah, I didn't see it coming. Come on now. All right. Kush has over 15 years of experience in the brand development, PR, and strategic communications industry across 2 continents. She has worked with global brands like Disney, Sega, Sony, and World Vision, and played a key role in developing top talents like Shasha and Shingai Shoniwa. Under her leadership, Rogue has served major clients including Toyota and Bank ABC. She also chairs the HR and Marketing Committee at Credsure and is the president of ZAAPA or Zappa. Give it up for Kush, y'all. And then last but certainly not least, the person who's traveled the most to be in this panel right here. Bisola Otun is a DJ who is known to get the party started. Oh, that's what we need, right? Come on now, come on now. From rocking major festivals like Wireless to hosting Represent Radio's Drive Time show, she's always bringing the energy. When she's not on the decks, you might find her teaching the next generation of radio stars or sharing her passion for music with young people. This is going to be a banger panel discussion. And y'all started clapping frantically. No, they're super laid back. I'm super excited. Napoleon, you've got an amazing journey. I remember your journey starting out at C Media, if I'm not mistaken, all the way into becoming a DJ. And I remember seeing a clip of you on YouTube once upon a time, somewhere in Atlanta, Jordan, and they gave you a microphone at a radio station, and then they all felt very inadequate. How do you transition and make yourself, I think this is one of the most important questions, I think, for today, because a lot of artists who were around at that time are very excited to see one of their own in a position such as yours. You suck up much? And I'm kidding. I guess my first question to you is, as the CEO of the National Arts Council, you've been at the forefront of supporting Zimbabwe's creative industry. Can you share some of the key initiatives that the National Arts Council is focusing on to support and develop the music industry in Zimbabwe?
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
I like how you just hit them with the decorum all of a sudden.
Yeah. Thanks, man. The National Arts Council of Zimbabwe is the mother body for the arts in the country. When we say the arts, we're talking about the whole spectrum of art, from visual arts, which is sculptures, paintings, etc., to crafts, to film, to music, dance, even book writers and culinary arts. All the arts fall under the National Arts Council of Zimbabwe, which makes it quite a huge task in terms of promotion and development of the arts. However, much as I had a big culture shock joining the organization 9 months ago, almost 9 months ago now, it was comforting to realize that actually there are a lot of plans and structures that are in place to get things going for the artists in Zimbabwe. Only challenge is implementation.
All right.
And actually getting things going, because there's always something in the way.
Yeah.
Obviously, the biggest one is money. We don't have the money to put in this structure and that structure. We don't have the money to do this or that. Why don't you have the money? The economy. Why is the economy like, So there's so many other reasons that we can get into, but there are low-hanging fruits, and there are things that we can do and things that we can achieve, and that's what we've been trying to focus on over the last few months that I've been at the National Arts Council, and even for the tenure, for my tenure at the Arts Council, I've chosen to say, okay, what can we win? Let's focus on that. These things that I know, it will take us as an industry 20 years to get to this.
Of course.
So I'm like, I don't have 20 years there. I've got 5.
Wow, wow.
So I'm going to push for us to win in the 5 years. So now to get to your question, sorry, I was just establishing the background. Now to get to your question, what are we doing to try and get artists to have progress and to be set up and to grow in this space? We've, and speaking about music specifically, I think you mentioned music in particular. In 2022, the National Arts Council of Zimbabwe and the government and the music fraternity launched the music strategy. Music strategy has got 10 pillars for development of the music sector, and there's a lot that has happened in that space since 2022, because it's a 2022 to 2027 strategy. So we've got maybe 1.5 years to go in terms of our opportunity to implement the stuff that's in the music strategy. And it talks about creating opportunities for artists to grow and to export. We need to be able to export our craft. I think for music in Zimbabwe, we can agree that we have grown to a level where we can compete in terms of quality, we can compete in terms of lyricism, in terms of style, in terms of, rhymes and all of that, but we're still not breaking out internationally. We're still clapping hands for South Africans at the Grammys, for Nigerians at the Grammys, for other nationalities. And you're like, you know what? It's great. We're inspired. It means it's possible for us to go to BET, to go to all these great platforms that are, that give you an international market. But we, as a people, are not there. And how are we going to do that? So what we've been trying to work on is to grow our market. Zimbabwe has 16 odd million people. That's too little. That's too little. You cannot compete with Camera was talking about Pato. You can compete with Pato Rankin, who's coming from a country with 60-something million people. There are countries with over 100 million people on this continent.
True.
How do you compete when you're coming from a country with 16? So we need to grow our markets. Actually, currently we're in conversation with Zambia National Arts Council.
Wow.
I think in the next month we'll be signing an MOU. What we're trying to do with Zambia is let's take advantage of our similarities. Zambians and Zimbabweans are the same. we should be the same country anyway. Like, literally, if you go to other countries, you can spot a Zimbabwean, eh? You can spot a Zimbabwean on the street, like, ah, I'm Zimbo. You know what I mean? But with Zambia, if you go to, we look the same, we sound the same, we dress, we are the same.
Yeah.
And we're saying, how can we make this one market, especially for the arts? How can we make a Zambian artist big in Zimbabwe so that it's doubled? I think Zambia's got like 24 million people. But if we add our 16, that's a bigger market for a Zambian artist or a Zimbabwean artist.
Yeah.
You know, there's actually part of our conversations when we're discussing this MOU, sorry I'm speaking too much, part of our conversations we're talking about, you know, these battles on TikTok about, hey, Vic Falls is ours, no, it's ours, you know, and all these parodies where people are like, you know, dissing each other between Zambia and Zimbabwe. I'm like, we are brothers, we are like siblings. That's why it's so easy for us to have like a friendly beef.
Yeah.
Why can't we take advantage of that, whatever's happening on TikTok and all of that, to create one market? So those are some of the things that we're trying to do.
That's really exciting, and I'll have some follow-up questions for you around that a bit later. It's a very interesting point that you brought up, considering most of Gen Z probably doesn't know that we were once a federation with Zambia once upon a time. Yeah. So my next question is, sorry, I'm just all behaved all of a sudden. He's got that effect. So, pardon me. My next question is for Ayati. I love the fit. I love the fit.
Thank you.
So as someone who's had a hand in curating music rotations, how do you ensure that Zimbabwean music is given the exposure? He was talking about our audience, right? The scale of it and so on. How do you ensure that Zimbabwean music gets the exposure it deserves on mainstream radio, especially in a market dominated by global music? I think that's a great follow-up to his response. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm very privileged to be the generation that witnessed the declaration of the 75% local content act of edition of the Broadcasting Act. So that was back in 2000, and I was working for the national broadcaster. And that involved a lot of changes, a lot of personal impact, where I actually had to move cities and go to Gweru, that decentralization. So that in itself came with the new frontier of what we are operating in now. The Zimbabwe that we know, the radio that we know, currently working on a radio station that's 13 years old this year. So it means that what we do now cannot never, so that part of the question that says a market that is, a market that is, what's the word? Like there's global music overshadowing.
Yeah,
I don't
dominated.
Think, I don't think that's our reality anymore. It hasn't been for the longest time. And it's thanks to that Broadcasting Act, that declaration of 75% local content. So we are exceptionally we are operating in an environment where it's all about us. Yeah, it's all about us. We are ready to launch. And just to take up on what Napoleon was saying, who is a great person to be on a panel with, like, you can never go wrong. You just tap into what Napster
I mean, it's going great. I know this, right?
What he said. And I must credit Napster again for another great initiative that that he came up with, and when we were working together and he was leading the team, we came up with Zim Tulikazi.
Oh, wow.
So as a station, we took up the whole month of July, in Tulikazi being the month of July in Ndebele. So we took up and declared and dedicated the whole month of July to local music. And that has been...
Yeah.
That has been groundbreaking. We discovered artists, we rediscovered artists, we fell in love with ourselves again, and all our content in that month was purely extra dedicated to being Zimbabwean. So those are some of the initiatives that we are really, really proud of. In our rotation system, we have categories that we work with.
Yeah.
Our music manager, H1, is here. Shout out to H1.
Shout out to H1. H1.
We
H1, can you do something for me? They liked it. It worked. Okay, great.
Wendy was here, and she really emphasized that you must speak to Wendy. And locally in Harare, in Zimbabwe, if you're in the music industry, you must speak to H1. Yeah. So
H1, can you do some?
and he can expand more on this, but I just want to highlight that as a system that we use, our music rotation as categories, and we actually have a segment, a category called new music, where new music goes into rotation.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's how we discover our hits. Then you go into hot, if you out of new music. So we are really excited. We receive loads and loads of new music. We have a committee led by the very capable H1.
I'm not going to do it.
That is dedicated to listening to music all the time.
Yeah.
He himself was hosting Bisola. You were there yesterday with Blue.
Oh,
They were
great.
in the studio the whole day. I think they'd come to be on air for just a few minutes, but ended up spending a lot of time because we are so invested in new artists, in new music, and so we are really proud of.
That's really awesome, Ayati, and you should be proud. You should be proud. I think there are going to be a lot of follow-up questions from artists in the room right now about how they can actually get their music onto that new music.
And this happens to us all the time. You put a radio person on a panel and they end up being the one in trouble. Like they have to answer most of the questions, but I'm more than happy to do that. In the interest of time, I'm just going to rush through the others. We also came up with a new innovation, again, during the time Napoleon was leading the team, of taking radio to the people, outside broadcasts, which have been phenomenal. They've been a game changer on the scene. And whenever we take radio to the people, and usually it's also an activation, which is commercial. So we're going with corporates that fund the whole thing. But whenever we are in a space, we are there to scout, we are there to also see, and we incorporate into our live broadcasts new artists, emerging artists of that locality.
That's right.
Yeah, so we've gone as far as...
So you're scouting right now, huh?
Yes. Actually, in a similar session sometime last year, I met a young lady here, and we ended up doing so much more business on the side, but also that she's an artist, and she's here working at our registration desk.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's things like that. Wherever you go, it's the conversations, it's the relationships. I think Blue touched on that. So,
awesome.
Yeah. And then just as a highlight of the work that we've done with emerging artists, you can't talk of Zim Dancehall and not mention Templeman and not mention Star FM.
Yeah.
He's been nominated for awards, he's won awards. If you look at hip-hop, you can't talk of Zim hip-hop without Mox and all the awards and all the mentions. And then as a radio station, we've also, we were the first radio station to have an awards ceremony that is dedicated to just awarding our local artists.
Yeah.
So for now, I'll stop there. But
let's give it up.
We are going.
You know, it's like Ayati was on the Facebook page for a radio station looking at artists bad mouthing, like, oh, you ain't doing nothing. You ain't doing. And she was like, I'm gonna show you tomorrow. I'm gonna have to show you tomorrow. I'm playing. Next up, we've got Kush. Can I call you Kush?
Yes, of course.
So, Kush, you've worked with some major global brands and top artists like Shasha, and now leading the Zimbabwean Music Awards, Zima. What key strategies would you recommend for Zimbabwean music artists to develop their brands and stand out both locally and internationally in the context of the comments that have been made by the two speakers just now?
It's very difficult to follow after Ayati and Napsa.
And she was leaning on Napoleon hard. I mean, the solo is going to be up next. It's going to be like 5 years when I was in Napoleon. We developed.
Well, funny enough, we work colleagues as well, so we've worked together
everybody's
professionally.
doing it. Go for it. Yeah.
So I'm definitely comfortable with this platform because we've also collaborated.
That's excellent.
Look, I think it's about setting your key objectives. You always have to have a plan. When we collaborated, when I worked with top talent, we sit down and we strategize. We create like a mood board and have our wish list of where do we want to be and how we're going to get there. Yeah. So definitely local is definitely lacquer. You've got to somehow at least be known, I think. home. I am a strong believer that even with our 16 million population, it's big.
Yeah.
It's big enough. $1 out of 16 million is $16 million, guys.
Gotcha,
That's a
gotcha.
whole lot of money.
Yeah.
Is just as an example. But I think for us, certainly with the journey, with the talent that I managed, we knocked on all the doors, and we didn't stop. And then we got to a point where we said, okay, we're earning this amount of money. It just doesn't seem like it's our value. Let's just go to a market that is somewhat having a better infrastructure in a way. So we crossed the border. Unfortunately, I had relationships outside of Zim, so it was a little bit easier. But certainly not to discredit the team that we had, Audius Mutaurira and, Yagi Dojo, there's Tadi as well. We collaborated with like-minded people that we actually pitched locally to package our product in a way, and then we had something to actually upsell. So certainly you've got to look at you've got to look at yourself as something that is marketable. So we managed to get a photographer locally. We didn't have much money. We got it for free. And I know there's a lot of people in this room that have definitely helped us get ahead, but we actually had a plan. And then from that, we knocked on all the radio stations. I'm friends with all of the radio stations.
On that note, back then,
Yeah.
There's this belief amongst upcoming artists that it's very hard to do that, to infiltrate the radio stations, because, there's this myth of gatekeeping. Can you talk about that? Did you experience that?
Gatekeeping is real.
Oh, wow. Okay, let's go.
But I'm pretty aggressive, so I kicked that door down. I've got good friends here, guys. Good friends.
Yeah. Now it's
real.
you, Ayati.
Is that, no, it's no, but you've got to be aggressive, and actually, and I speak about having a good team. Actually, you can't. I don't think you can make it in life in general without teamwork. So I was that person that kicked down the door. Like, guys, let's just do it. And I'm a bit of a pest when I want to get the job done. I think I can be quite irritating because I'll be like, H1, come on, man, come on, this is amazing, come on. And I think he's blocked me a few times. But on a serious note, Audius, the craft of producing, Camera, Catch Me, is where is he? We've worked with Camera, and you need a producer. You need to actually identify who's good enough, and then have a plan and convince, because you're somewhat selling and marketing yourself, and really on the gatekeeping aspect, I think if you have someone in your team that's professional, that can actually write a press release, your EPK, and just package that all together, and you send it on email, and then have a professional phone call, and actually say what it is that you're doing and what you're selling, and then be able to do that follow-up. And sometimes the door's not always closed, it's just ajar. Some people are actually busy. You've just got to keep knocking on that door. And that's what we did. And then we did the same thing in South Africa, and the same thing in the UK. The doors were somewhat like, no, guys, we're not interested. And then just also, I think, knowing your value, self-belief.
You've got to believe in yourself.
You've got to believe in yourself. And it's almost like a self-obsession, guys. Like
a self-obsession.
Yeah, I was inspired by Audius because every time we'd go in his car, he never played anyone else's music, right?
That must have been fun.
Well, look, I like house music, guys. I love house music. I love R&B, hip hop as well. But I learned, it's like you're indoctrinated in a way when you're in that environment.
You know the lyrics now, don't you?
But it's the same thing as the 75%. that Ayati was talking about, and we have to take ownership of that. And it's, self-promotion as well. We're all here today, and it's still that self-promotion, isn't it? We're taking time to talk about our backgrounds. But I think it's definitely important to keep pushing.
Love it.
Zim is an emerging space somewhat. You've just got to show up like this today, the events like this. There's multiple events like this actually that are actually sprouting in and around Zim. You can join, online platforms and actually get inspired. So I think you just have to keep pushing and believing in yourself. Thank you.
You heard it.
Sorry.
I really appreciate how you took time to draw out what the strategy is. We hear that word a lot, but I love how you started right from grassroots, talked about engaging with your artist, creating mood boards, planning, into the strategy, straight into kicking down doors, persistence, and so on. I love that it was a roadmap that answered so many questions all in one. And I appreciate all of your perspectives, and that lends us to Bisola's point of view, considering her very, very unique positioning. So, Bisola, as someone who works in both DJing and radio, in the radio industry, how do you think Zimbabwean music, now that you've experienced it for the past couple of years through Scripts and Bars and now Music Connects Africa, how do you think Zimbabwean music can better penetrate international markets, especially after yesterday? I'm told you had a little go on the radio station.
Yeah, we did. We got to go to Star FM. Thank you so much, H1. It was really enjoyable. Also, you guys have got really great studios here, and we can't really relate to that. You got so much space, and that's crazy.
Oh, yeah, love it.
I learned a lot when I was there yesterday. I got to hear a lot of music. H1 was showing us a lot of tracks, different sounds, different accents, different languages. And there's one thing that stood out to me that was quite frustrating sometimes when I was hearing some of the music. And I guess as a Nigerian, I know that sometimes we are privy to using a London accent or an American accent to speak, to rap, to sing, to do whatever, and it loses authenticity. We are listening to music from around the world because we don't understand it. The reason I love South African music, I don't know what they're saying. I have no clue the lyrics of iPlan, but I sing it like I know every single thing. I know the journey behind it, the story behind it. The difference is what makes it the most unique thing ever. Yeah. And utilizing the accent, I can't remember what song it was, but it was this one lady that was rapping, and I think is it the boy, the accent, or what's the language that she was rapping in? Debele, yeah. And that's when you have the little tones when you're rapping. It's you're speaking, but it's also the clicks when you're sounding out. Yeah. That sounds so cold. Do you know how good that sounds over a hard-hitting beat? Wow. But the minute she started rapping in English, I was like, oh. Now I understand what you're saying, but I don't even care about the English part. Do you know how cold your rapping is? Your language is so cold. Stick to that because that's what makes you the most unique. That's what's up. You really do stand out, and I'm not joking. That's my one thing I would give anyone ever any advice is, firstly, you don't need to break into the US or break into the UK. The best thing for you to do is break Africa, because that's actually the biggest influence ever. If you ask me right now what sound is taking over the UK, Amapiano. There are 3 major festivals during the summertime that are all Amapiano. Our biggest nightclub right now in the UK is called Drumsheds. It's 22,000 people in our nightclub, yeah? It's an old IKEA, so they shut it down and they made a nightclub. Wow. And the first people to DJ there, Major League DJs, because they can guarantee they're going to sell out. So they want to make sure they're making their return on their investment. So they're like, okay, almost all the piano events are at Drumsheds, because you need to guarantee it's going to sell out. And they sell out because it's so different, because people are going there for difference. Wow. I'm not going to go there and I don't want to hear you do an imitation of someone else. I want to hear you do you. When you do you, I'm telling you right now, you're going to take off. It's not even a joke. Yeah. It's not even a joke.
Wow. My follow-up question is still to you. You came all this way.
Hi, yeah. 16 hours, but it's worth it. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, let's do it.
I feel like a local now.
So you've made it a point to mentor the next generation of radio stars and DJs. What advice would you give to emerging Zimbabwean artists and creatives who want to break into the industry? Well, specifically the global music scene.
So Blue kind of stole what I said earlier about networking.
Go for it.
Can you imagine? But I did say yesterday at Star FM that networking up is a bit redundant at times. It doesn't really make much sense, because the person above you, imagine the amount of people that are asking them for things. And they're just like, yeah, I'll listen to your music, or yeah, I'll do this, or yeah, I'll do that. But the person next to you that's also making music, also producing, works in marketing, they're all starting out together, you're creating a scene. A community, a scene is what you need. And once you have that, you will take off because there's tons of you doing it.
Yeah.
You can't just have one person. And one person also becomes the face of something. If they mess up, everyone's now at fault.
That's what's up.
If it's a whole scene where you've got someone that does this in a particular way or someone does that in a particular way, you've got a scene and now you've got something to show the world. And then you do you and then wait for us to come and find you. South Africa, Afro House, Guama has been going on for ages. Amapiano came around. They kind of went, you know what, I don't care about everyone else. We're going to do us.
Yeah.
And then we ran to them. Oh my gosh, guys, please, look, please, we want to hear Amapiano. Please, please, please. And now it's changed the landscape of music completely. Even the way we consume like DJ content, everyone's got a camera in front of their DJ decks now. And that's because of South Africa. It's because of Amapiano.
Yeah.
The way Nigerians make music now, as a Nigerian, Niger piano, don't get me wrong, I know you guys hate that. But Niger piano, like, Afrobeats has changed forever. It's changed forever because of this side of the continent. So it's about creating a scene and understanding that if we do this all together and create our own infrastructure, we're clear. Everyone will come to us.
Wow, let's go. Let's go. Are y'all enjoying this? Yes, you want me to stop? Okay, let's back up. It's been cool, y'all, you know. I'm kidding. Nipster. Can I call you Nipster? Why are you Nipster? Okay.
What shall I call you? How can I describe?
Are you a Nipster? Sorry, Mr. Nyani. The arts industry often faces unique challenges, from funding constraints to limited access to global platforms. What are some of the biggest challenges you've observed for Zimbabwean creatives, and how is the National Arts Council working to address them?
Thank you. Loaded question.
Yes.
I must say I was absolutely loving the contributions from the ladies. I mean, it's International Ladies Women's Day, and the women are bringing it, and I should have been sitting there. And I was taking notes on my phone, and I think part of what you've asked me is actually from my notes that I was taking. 75% local content and self-obsession, which is what the first two ladies talked about. That is one of the challenges. You mentioned, what are the challenges that we have? We have one challenge of failing to accept ourselves, failing to you hear a lot of people saying, you ask them, what's your favorite type of music? Like, or who's your favorite artist? I like Ariana Grande, and then I like Burna Boy, and then Casper Nyovest, right? Yeah. Be like, okay, what about locally? Nothing really does it for me.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair, It's, everyone is free to have their opinion. But there's an aspect of that is self-hate. Because I can pick someone who could rival any of those three locally.
True.
But you're not listening to them, or you're not preferring them. But sometimes people gain an appetite for what they are fed.
Very true.
Children don't just wake up thinking ice cream is nice.
True.
They are taught. It's given as a reward. Oh, well done, we'll get you ice cream. And this and that. I mean, yes, it's sweet and all of that, but at some point, you begin to crave it because it was taught to you that this is nice.
Precisely.
So the same thing happened when the 75% local content, at some point it was actually pushed to 100. Just for the ZBC stations at that point, well, they were the only ones at that time. But at some point, I remember it was like 98% local content. People complained in the first year or so. And then people started to enjoy it. And that's how, artists, some of the pioneering artists like Odious Mtawarira, Decibel, David Chifunyise, and then Anawinki D also came out of that revolution, and XQ came out of that Rocky, and you realize that people, it's not that they didn't like local, they were just not exposed to it enough.
True.
So while we're in this room, let us start the revolution. Let us all be like Odious, who plays his music in the car all the time.
Only.
Only. And it's not because he doesn't also like that and like that and like that, but there is an intentional preference that is more ideological than even musical.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is, I prefer me. And me is my artists from my hood or from my city or from my country.
Yeah.
Right? And like what my sister was saying, it then translates, because like she was saying, the South African said, you know what? Screw all of you. We're going to do us.
I'm going to do me.
Listen, we're going to do our stuff in our language, with our style, with our dances, and we're going to do it for ourselves. And all of a sudden it blew up.
Yeah.
The moment we stop trying to rap like Jay-Z, the moment we stop trying to do patois like Jamaicans.
Oh, that one. Oh, yeah.
The moment we decide to be authentic is the moment we blow up.
Yeah.
The moment we decide, no, actually Mbira is unique.
Yeah.
Let us feed on that thing. Let us push it. We've got our Sungura guitars. Let us push that.
Yeah.
You know. So I'm more keen on just doing more ideological change rather than actual the music itself, because we're good. We've got it.
Yeah.
But we just need to change our mindsets.
That's right.
And I would like to push that from a National Arts Council perspective, from a government perspective. We need to change the way we think about ourselves.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So, are you guys feeling this? Yeah. Are we on the right track? Yeah. Okay. Love it. Love it. Ayati, actually, I have a question for you.
I want to chime in on that one.
Yeah. It's actually going to help you do that, I believe.
Okay.
So, I'm going to give you an opportunity to respond to. There was mention of gatekeeping earlier on, right? Mention of gatekeeping. Yes. Right. And then there's a question over here about how our music has its own authentic genres, including Sungura, Mbira, Zim hip hop, and Zim dancehall. And I would like you to respond to that and take note of those two cues I've given you to respond to those things, and also how we can use those genres to push our local brand out there.
Okay, now I'm not sure what the question is.
Oh, okay. Start with what you wanted to say, and then I'll ask you again.
I just want to say, I think that's where it's all at. Authenticity, you cannot beat being yourself.
You're doing it.
Yeah, you just have to be yourself. And I just wanted to say that I proudly operate in that environment where, like now, if you ask me about American artists, that I grew up being force-fed, like Napoleon said, like we had no choice. We thought this was it because that's all we're listening to, that's all we're exposed to.
Yeah.
And I regret at that time. Incidentally, I stopped watching TV because I've just consumed enough American culture. So I'm very proud to say that I'm very well versed with our own artists.
Yeah.
And on my show, this is a confession, by the way, and H1 shouldn't hear this. When they playlist some international tracks, because they are part of that rotation system I spoke about, I take the liberty to
tweak it just a little.
Just a little bit.
You won't say how, but we get you. We get you.
You know, in our favor, and yeah.
And I'm sure the local artists in the room are like, yes, Ayati.
And that's what it's
Press
all
delete
about.
more.
All right. And so now your question was.
All right, great. You've actually kind of answered it with that little technique you just mentioned. Because I believe you're sneaking in the Mbira, the Zim hip hop.
Absolutely.
And, you did it.
Absolutely.
Okay, and on to gatekeeping. Is it real? What are you? You're one of the good guys. She's one of the good guys.
Yeah.
She's one of the good guys. We got one of the good guys on.
Such a saint.
Ayati, you've heard of it. You haven't seen it, but what are you doing to prevent it? Is there a culture within your organization, your system, from what you've seen, to say, hey, let's make ourselves accessible to these artists?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Tell us more about that.
First and foremost, it's about relationships. You did say that a lot of artists feel that radio stations are inaccessible.
Yeah.
They shy away, they stay away. But we want the engagement, we want the content, we want the music. I'll give you an example of an artist that we proudly grew with as a station.
Yeah.
Everybody loves the winner. She just bagged a NAMA, outstanding female, Tammy Moyo. When the station opened in 2012, Tammy was just a high school student. She must have been about 13.
Wow.
And she would be there every afternoon with her guitar, chasing down anyone who cared to listen, spare a moment for her to say, can I play you my song? Can I play you my song? Can I? And it was spoken about in the previous panel that just keep churning out music. Kim, give us the music. Give us what you're not so sure of. Just keep giving us the music. Keep feeding us your content, your information. We want all that because that's what populates the 75% local.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say that as an organization, we are operating closer to 100 and way, way beyond 75.
Excellent.
We're closer to 100%.
Excellent.
Sorry, can I comment about gatekeeping?
And, okay.
Sorry, when
I
did that?
feel like there's a gate between you two and Kush now, and I'm trying to let her in.
Really,
How about
really
it?
from where I stand, I speak from a privileged position. Naturally, being with the leading broadcaster, everyone wants my attention and everyone will give me whatever I want.
You're cool.
Yeah.
You-
So I don't think I'm qualified to speak on gatekeeping because
I think you just did when you said you want to be more accessible and you want to make it easier for artists to come through, just
And-
like Tammy did when
and
she
we
was a
are.
kid. And I think that's a great answer.
yeah,
I don't
you
know
can
about
come
the
and
rest
spend the
of you.
whole day in the foyer at Star FM and no one will ask you what do you really want. You can just
Excellent.
be tapping into the vibes, enjoying the space.
That's right. So
Yeah.
guys, free Wi-Fi at Star FM in the I'm playing. I'm
Just
playing.
20 seconds.
Go for it.
What's wrong with gatekeeping?
Do you know, I was going to say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that negative all the time. Sometimes there's positives in gatekeeping.
Okay, we're going to open it up to the floor just now. We'll hear what they have to say.
There's no company cinema security guard.
Yeah,
There has to be someone to keep the gate.
we're going to hear what they have to
So,
say.
quality comes from someone who persists and persists and persists. And don't be lazy. She mentioned that, find someone who can help you do a proper profile of the artist and then, come up with good artwork and then come up with your EP. Do the work.
Of course.
Don't be there thinking you've got a right just because you're an artist. There are going to be gatekeepers who tell you go back home. Do the work. Don't be lazy.
So
So Kush,
sorry,
I've got
if I
something
could-
special for you
Okay,
because we're running out of time.
Okay,
so
okay.
Kush, you're not getting a question. I know you've got something on your heart right now, deep in your heart, right? And I'm gonna give you the next minute to express that and anything else you'd like to comment on, add on to, think you should have been asked. Take it away.
Okay. Well, since we're on the topic of gatekeeping, you see, I come from, when you wear different roles,
Yeah.
all right? So in a way, I've been an up-and-coming artist, all right? And I've moved from that to manage, obviously, talent. Then, through my ad agency, there's a corporate side to it.
Yes.
And I provide free advice to artists that share some of their challenges. I could be controversial with what I'm about to say, but I'm authentic as it is, and that's why we're here, because
Believe in yourself.
we've got to change the narrative, and everyone on this platform definitely needs to collaborate more. But I'm here to represent, because we're here to also educate and share our knowledge and experiences. So as a professional manager, I've had artists come to me and say, help me put my music, plug my music. And I'll say, well, here's my bill for PR. Or, okay, let me help you out. Look, Kush, it can only get on air if you take it there, because sometimes I've been asked for money, right? And this is real feedback, okay? And I have to keep it 100% because that must be stopped. We've got to stop that. In as much as you can be persistent, it should also be, because it's quite intimidating as well when you're up and coming and you're like, look, it's a big radio station, maybe Kush or Napster, IRT are not as approachable, but they actually are. They actually are. They're there on public, social media platforms. Drop your music. Kamera shared his social media channels. You do have to be consistent and not be, you have to have that benevolence, I guess, and not be defeated. I've never paid for like a bribe because, again, that's self-belief and pest. I'll call myself a pest.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to address it from that aspect because I was speaking on behalf of the artists because this is genuine feedback that I've received multiple times and it's got to stop. It's got to stop.
All right. Let's give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. This is got really spicy in the end there. Gatekeeping. All right. H1, can you do something for me? So we got time for 1.5 questions. Yeah, 1.5. Unfortunately, time is not on our side.
Hi guys, my name is Masimba from Culture Correspondent and I'm the head of A&R at Mbola Nation Entertainment. Quick one, what would you say are the do's and don'ts when you do get on radio?
What, in terms of like playing music?
Yes. When radio starts playing your music, what would you say you should do and you should not do?
I guess the first thing when you're sending out your music, I don't know if it's the same here, but it needs to be clean. And that's like a really big thing. And you also should interact with the presenter or the DJ that's playing your music. So if someone's playing your music consistently and they're tagging you and they're posting it, give them a reshare and say thank you. And people often forget that, but that's how you build a relationship. And then next minute you've got a major release, they might ask you for an interview. You need to actually be proactive in your journey. Like you need to be, they're playing it for you, that's one step. How do you go further? That's for me, that's a do.
Just to follow on that, I think with just on all aspects, let's just say the ecosystem of music, we've actually also, everybody has a responsibility to be on social media as well.
Yeah.
And I think in Zim, we're still getting there. The interconnectedness of a radio presenter actually filming themselves whilst they're on radio, tagging whatever brands that they're working with, tagging an artist, that culture is still emerging. And I think that actually would help us elevate even just the digital footprint on that aspect. I think a presenter that I really follow and love the work, how she utilizes social media is Miss Red. And Noxie. Noxie is really good, and Miss Red, they're very good at consciously tagging people, and you can actually see it in their numbers. So yeah, on all aspects, we're still getting there from that. Yeah.
My bad, but now I know. Thank you.
Also, just to chime in on that one, I would say once you start playing on radio, remain accessible or be more accessible, especially to the industry. I'm talking about the radio station or whatever other broadcasting spaces or social media spaces. Be more accessible. Do not be a superstar to the radio people. Be a superstar to your fans, but don't start becoming offish and I'm a superstar and I'll arrive there with my entourage and I'll greet no one, and if I come for the interview, then I'll get in, I'll be like, yeah. We've got a problem with ego with our artists. Just 2 songs on radio, all of a sudden.
I'm also going to chime in on that.
It's a pain point.
Radio is the original influencer. So once you're on radio, you've got us doing the work for you. Like you said, you can't be a superstar to us. We are more of partners than I'm a big star. And so to me, as a content creator, as an influencer on your behalf, I also need that acknowledgement from you. If we co-support, you must also actually listen to radio shows. There's nothing like playing an artist and he texts you in the studio and he says, listen, I'm listening to the show. And then the whole network that Kush spoke about, that you then build around on social media. We are still growing in that, but let's help each other to do so much more. Make it a big moment, because you only have those 2.5 moments on a 3-hour show. And, you know, that it's all your time. 2.5 minutes on radio is very, very precious. So let's collaborate a whole lot more once you enter that space.
All right. All right. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for. I've been speaking to Napoleon Nyani, Ayati, Kush, and Bisola Otum. Let's give them a round of applause. Oh, you can do better than that. I hope you all had fun. I know you're aching and itching for more. There's an upcoming panel discussion. I will not be moderating that one. That will be under fashion. And if you're interested, please stick around for the upcoming panel. Otherwise, for now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. And let's have just one more round of applause for this amazing panel.